All, welcome to TVM Academy. This is VARC 100, a free practice course for CAT verbal section, RC number 26. Let's start. So in the first paragraph, author tells you that according to Eric Williams, Britain abolished slavery because of economic reasons and not because of humanitarian reasons. But two studies re-examine Eric Williams' conclusion. Okay. In the second paragraph, author tells you Mr. SD proposes that popular support was a reason behind abolishment of slavery, but he fails to explain how this popular support was garnered. And in the next two paragraphs, author explains the other third person, Mr. DE, David Eltis. His explanation actually ends up supporting Eric Williams' point of view that economic motives were the reason behind abolishment of slavery, because capitalists and politicians started viewing slaves as potential consumers in the British economy. So if their wages increased, if their economic status increased or bettered, it would also lead to betterment of the British economy. It would also lead to growth of the British economy. That was the reason behind abolishment of slavery. So essentially, author is in support of Eric Williams. He supports his point of view that economic reasons were the primary motive behind, they were the primary motivation behind abolishment of slavery. Moral reasons or humanitarian reasons were not the ones. Okay. Let's see. Question number 1, the main idea of the passage. Option A, although they disagree about the degree to which economic motives influenced British abolishment of slavery, Mr. D and Mr. E, Drescher and Eltis, both concede that moral persuasion was a significant factor, contradictory to what passage tells us about their viewpoint. Both of them have never mentioned moral reasons as a significant factor. In fact, Mr. Drescher says popular support was the reason. It was the popular support. People started supporting anti-slavery petitions. They started writing anti-slavery petitions. And Eltis also thinks that it was economic reasons that ultimately led to the abolishment of slavery, right? So moral reasons were not there. Although both Drescher and Eltis have questioned Williams' analysis of the motivation behind Britain's abolishment of slavery, they have both questioned, although there is support for part of the Williams conclusion. Correct. So ultimately, this is what the author says. David Eltis's answer to that question actually supports some of the Williams insight, some. So partially it gets supported in their analysis as well. So although they questioned the validity of his conclusion, they end up supporting part of his conclusion anyway. Option B should be the correct answer. C, because he has taken into account the populist characteristics of British abolitionism, Drescher's explanation of what motivated Britain's abolition of slavery is finally more persuasive. Acha. So option C lends support to Drescher's conclusion. Author has never supported Drescher's conclusion. He does not find it more persuasive. In fact, he thinks that he does not finally explain. So it is lacking. Drescher's conclusion is lacking in some aspects. Option C is contradictory to author's point of view. He's in support of Eric Williams. Option D, neither Eltis nor Drescher has succeeded in explaining why support for Britain's abolition of slavery appears to have cut across lines of party, class, and religion. So basically, neither Eltis nor Drescher has explained how support for anti-slavery measures cut across party lines, religious lines, etc. Everybody supported. Nobody has explained. Neither of them has been able to explain how it happened. It is actually contradictory again to what the passage says, because Drescher could not explain it. But David Eltis has answered it. His answer to that question, author says, his answer to that question actually supports his Eric Williams analysis. Okay, so he has answered this question. He has explained why there was popular support, why everybody supported anti-slavery measures or abolition of slavery. Okay, so option B. Question 2. Which of the following best states Eric Williams' view of the primary reason for Britain's abolition of slavery? Clearly, according to him, the primary reason was economic factors. It is written that they were driven primarily by economic rather than moral factors or humanitarian factors. They were blighted by depleted soil. There was indebtedness and there was inefficiency of coarse labor. So basically, they were all impediments to British economic progress. These were the factors. Option A, British populism appealed to people. Populism, the theory of populism was proposed by SD and not Eric Williams. Option B, both capitalists and workers in Britain accepted the moral precepts. Again, Eric Williams rejected the moral theory or humanitarian factors. He said they were not the factors behind abolition. Forced labor in the colonies could not produce enough goods to satisfy the British consumers. Production was a problem. It was not production, it was economic reasons. So not exactly what the passage says, factually twisted. The operation of colonies based on forced labor was no longer economically advantageous. Exactly what the passage says. Easy question. Option D is the answer. According to Eltis, third person. So there are three people here: Eric Williams, then this guy, Mr. SD, Drescher, and then David Eltis. And the fourth person is author himself. Author is in favor of Eric Williams. Don't forget. So according to Eltis, low wages and draconian vagrancy laws in Britain were intended to do what? It is mentioned here that these laws ensured industriousness of British workers. Industriousness means hard work. So there were very harsh laws, and the wages were also very low, and they were so in order to ensure that the British workers worked very hard. Also, it also was attributed to the desire to keep labor costs low and exports profitable, competitive. Okay. So the low wages and draconian vagrancy laws were intended to protect laborers. No, absolutely not, contradictory. Counter the move to enslave unemployed laborers. In fact, it was not to counter the move, it was there to support the move. It actually supported the move. So it's also contradictory. To ensure a cheap and productive workforce. Productive comes from the word industriousness. It ensured industriousness, and cheap comes from this labor costs were low. So the laws were harsh. Draconian laws were there. Draconian means very harsh, horrendous, pathetic laws. So very horrible laws, inhuman laws. So draconian laws were there in order to ensure labor costs, low labor costs, basically. So option C is the obvious choice. To ensure that the workforce experienced no unemployment. They were not humanitarian in nature. So this was again contrary to what the passage says. Can be inferred that the author of the passage views Drescher's presentation. Please note, author thinks that Drescher does not finally explain how England, a nation which was deeply divided by class struggles, could mobilize popular support. So basically, Drescher, according to the author, Drescher's analysis is unrealistic. It is implausible. It is implausible, unreasonable, because England was divided across class lines. So it was unlikely that it could gather popular support. Everybody supported, every class of people, every class supported anti-slavery measures. So according to the author, Drescher's analysis is somewhat implausible, unreasonable, unrealistic. Option B is the best available choice. Unnecessarily tentative. Tentative means not certain, uncertain. Please note, Drescher's conclusion is not uncertain. He has concluded, but he has not finally explained. So it is the author His analysis was not tentative. His analysis was not hesitant. He has concluded from his side, but author finds this conclusion unrealistic or implausible, unreasonable. Okay, because the English society was divided across party lines, across class lines. Information in the passage suggests that Eltis and Drescher agree that both of them, Eltis and Drescher, second and third researchers, they agree that people of all classes in Britain supported the abolition of slavery. Do they agree that people of all classes supported? Yes. How? Drescher clearly says that popular support was the reason behind abolishment of slavery. So there's no question, there's no doubt about Drescher's point of view. But David Eltis answers to that question. Which question? How? Please note, Drescher does not explain how everybody came to support anti-slavery. Drescher answers this question. Now, if Drescher answers this question, if he answers how popular support was gathered in support of abolition of slavery, if David Eltis answers the question how popular support was gathered, he first agrees that popular support was gathered. So people of all classes supported abolition of slavery. He explains how. Okay, option A is the answer. So they both agree. Option B, the motives behind Britain's abolition of slavery were primarily economic. Only Eltis agrees. Drescher does not agree. Drescher, according to Drescher, it was popular support. Everybody supported. That's why slavery was abolished. The moral vision of abolitionists played a vital role. Neither of them agrees. Neither Eltis nor Drescher agrees about the moralistic point of view. British traditions of liberty have been idolized by historians. Where does that come from? Alien idea. So I hope this was, you scored 5 on 5. It was an easy passage. This one was an easy passage. Questions were, very easy, in fact. Hope you are improving with this series. Don't forget to like the video and appreciate the effort about TVM Academy and about the VARC 100 series. Thank you very much. All the best. Cheers to learning.